His answers are greater than our prayers. Once Hannah's mind changed, the stuff that people did, the stuff that people said, it didn't bother her anymore. After she changed her mind, she was ready to birth what God had for her. She was ready to give birth to a great and mighty man of God. If you notice, a lot of the men of God in the Bible came from barren mothers. Isaac's mother was barren. Joseph's mother was barren. Samuel, John the Baptist, all of their mothers could not have children. God had closed their womb, but my God opened up their mind. God was able to take these women through some things so that they could raise supernatural sons, so that they could raise special people. There had to be more than nursery preparation. They had mind preparation. They needed more than diapers. They needed depends. They needed to learn how to depend on Him. They needed more than wipes. They needed a heart that was right. And I believe travailing through prayer, God not only changed their mind, but He changed their circumstances. He changed their mind so that they could have a mind to serve Him, so that they could have a mind to raise their kids in the fear and admonition of God, so they can have a mind to say, I don't care what Latasha and Jamal doing down the street, you gonna do what I told you to do. The Bible says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Hannah had to think like a mother before she became a mother. So it came to pass in the process of time that Hannah conceived and bore a son and called his name Samuel, saying, because I have asked for him from the Lord. Even though Hannah was able to get her shout on in church, even though she felt peace about her situation, even though her mind was changed, there was still a process of time. It took some time before her circumstances were changed. Prayer often includes a process of time. It takes time, and while we wait, we cannot lose heart. While we wait, we cannot lose faith. While we wait, we've got to believe that whatever we ask according to His will in His name, we shall have. Prayer doesn't just make you feel better. It doesn't just change your mind. Prayer will change your life in the process of time. But see, this is where many of us lose God, in that process of time. We're not up to waiting. If there's some kind of delay, then we run on and try to do it ourselves. That's what Elkanah, her husband, did. I'm sure this wasn't the first prayer they uttered asking for children. When they got married, I'm sure they had their little family worships. But after a couple prayers and Elkanah didn't see nothing going on, he decided to go answer his own prayer for children. Oh, waiting was okay for Hannah's reputation, but he needed to move where it meant his inheritance. He needed some kids to carry on the family name. He didn't understand that God was cooking up something for them. He didn't understand that this child would not be ordinary. This one would take some time. The problem we have is that we're into microwaving, and God is into marinating. Oh, hello, somebody. We're into microwaving, but God is into marinating. No matter how bad you want it, you can't hurry God. You just gotta wait. And so in the process of time, Hannah had a son, and she named him Samuel, which meant heard of God. He was her answer to prayer. Through prayer, God changed her mind, and through prayer, God changed her life. And after a few years, Hannah went back to give this boy back to the Lord. She was faithful to her word because God was faithful to His. It must have been hard to give her only son, but it was not until she gave that son that she was able to have other children. So Hannah goes up to the temple and begins to worship God. The Bible says she worshiped God in the temple. Praise is the proper punctuation to answered prayer. Praise is the proper punctuation to answer prayer. See, many times we get our blessing, we snatch it and go on with our lives like God owed us something. God freely gave his life, and if he never does another thing, he has done too much. So if in his goodness he decides to bless you with something, you better bless him. You better open up your mouth and give him glory. You better open up your mouth and give him praise. This is your reasonable act of service. You can't get dignified and sanctified now. You've got to magnify him. You've got to glorify him. You've got to extol the Lord. You've got to exalt him. You've got to sing unto the Lord a new song. You've got to come before his presence with singing and into his courts with praise. Hannah came before the Lord with an offering, with a sacrifice of praise. And she began to pray again. But you'll see that in this second prayer, there was a difference from the first prayer. You can tell that God changed her mind. Her first prayer was laden with heartache and grief. She talked about her problems and she talked about her pain. But the second wasn't a prayer of pain. It was a prayer of praise. She talked about God and his power. She ain't asking for nothing. She's going on about how good God is, how he's a way maker and how he's a promise keeper and how he's the one who gets sweeter, how he is her rock and her strength and her warrior and her restorer and her redeemer. Even through her problems, she was able to see them through the lens of God's strength. She couldn't see this before. Before she was just crying and carrying on. But now we see that God changed her mind. And when her mind changed, her life changed. She had a mind focused on God's power rather than Hannah's problem. A change in your mind is more powerful than a change in your blood sugar. Hello, somebody. I said a change in your mind is more prudent than a change in your address. I said a change in your mind is more beneficial than a change in your man. Hello, somebody. A change in your mind is better than a change in your net worth, because a change in your mind will lead to a change in your life.